let's start with the marquee matchups of the week, which all these
Ooh,
teams
doggy.
delivered. All of them. And first, we talk about the Lions, who outlasted the Vikings.
It's a
And
great way to put that.
31-29. Now the Lions sit atop the NFC North at 5-1. The Vikings get their first loss of the season, also 5-1. Game ends up being 31 to
Dude,
29.
I want to just read some of these stats here. Like, so first downs, 19 for Lions, 16 for the Vikings. The efficiency on third down was 4 out of 10 for both teams. Total plays were only separated by 4. They allowed the same amount of sacks. Lions punted one more time than the Vikings. They both each had 1 turnover. They both had 8 penalties, and their time of possession was less than 2 minutes per. And then their total yards, 391, 383, 247 for pass, 247 for passing, 244 for passing, 144 for rushing, 139 for rushing. Like yards per play, 7 and 7.4.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like these
No, this was a great game.
this was insanely delightful. Minnesota, I was a little worried when they got out to that hot start and Vikings couldn't do any, or Lions couldn't do anything. But, starting in the second quarter, Lions they were 21-0 against the Vikings in the second quarter. And man, just Jared Goff coming back, man, and leading a drive to get this team down there for a field goal. Just outstanding. This game was just outstanding. He was 22 for 25, 2 touchdowns, 280. Sam Darnold did have the pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game. Justin Jefferson had a great game. Both Jamar Gibbs had a great game. Aaron Jones had a great game. Like this was just this. You can't say the defenses didn't do anything because they were still able to produce a turnover each. Like this was just one of the best games I have seen in the last 3 years. It was so well matched, so identical. I loved every second of it.
And it really felt like a playoff game.
It felt like
really
exactly what it was. It was whoever wins this game, I know they have another meeting, but whoever wins this game is gonna win the North.
Yeah.
And it was outstanding.
Yeah. And I also
I
think
call the Lions. Woo!
We both actually called the Lions. I was shocked. I thought I picked Vikings in this, but I did pick Lions. And yeah, I think right now, I mean, I don't think he'll win it because there's no way they give him another MVP. Right now, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are like 1 and 2 in the MVP race. We'll get to the Patrick Mahomes thing. It's ridiculous that it's ridiculous he's number 1 in MVP voting. But Lamar Jackson,
we'll get to it.
Lamar Jackson has 17 touchdowns, 2 turnovers on the season. So
what does Patrick Mahomes have?
We'll get to that, Casino. But and then Jared Goff, on the other hand, has 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, I believe. Or 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So there is talk of Jared Goff as MVP. And if this Lions team keeps playing like they do on his arm, I think you can make a real case that he will win or should win or can win MVP, especially over Lamar Jackson, where I feel like him not doing anything in the playoffs is going to hurt his MVP chances, right? Like nobody's going to, I think that's going to be held against him, even though it's a regular season award. Voters are petty, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, when it comes to,
it's obvious. I mean, Mahomes.
But Lions Vikings, great game. I also coming out of this game, much like the Commanders against the Ravens last week, even in a loss, the Vikings again didn't look bad. They could have easily won that game, and I kind of have more faith in the Vikings after that game than I did before it. Because I thought,
and just like what you said last week with you just alluded to with the Commanders.
Yeah. They look good in a loss. Again, it was a one-score game, kinda last couple minutes of the game, the Lions won it, and easily could have been Vikings, and also the thing I was scared about with the Vikings was, did will they lose all their momentum in a bye week? And clearly, it looks like they didn't. Like, they still looked good. But let's move on to our next game, Casino. The Packers shockingly win it with a kick at the end. Everybody knows they've had kicking issues over the past, so it
Yeah,
must have
and
felt
they just bring this kid on too?
yes,
Yeah, like, it was
and
this young kid.
he ends up kicking the game winner as time expires against the Texans. Again, the concerning thing is looking at the stats of this game. CJ Stroud of the Texans, 10 for 21, 86 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Basically, the reason they lost was that the passing game of the Texans was non existent. So, Packers, good
Mixon had
on
a
them.
really good game. Good for him, man.
Yeah, Mixon came back and basically carried that entire Texans offense. Was the only reason this game was close.
Right.
When I have said there's something off about the Texans, I feel like there has been a like in our comment section in people I talk to about the podcast, that's always a thing I feel like I get pushback on because the Texans, they're top 5 and everything, but again, the 2 games they've played against like Super Bowl contending
Contenders.
teams, they have played their 2 worst games by far, no
Yeah, that's
question,
the
and
concerning thing, but here's the thing, they're still 5-2. They only lost by a game-ending field goal, like, they're just right there. They're just right there.
but doesn't it feel like something's off with them? When
It
you watch
does,
them,
it does, it
and
does.
I don't know what it is. I can't put my again, it's not been CJ Stroud because CJ Stroud's been playing great. So this game was an anomaly for him, especially this season. But it just feels like there's something about this team that just is not clicking in the right way. I don't know what it is. I can't give you an example. It's just when you watch the game, they just don't feel like their stats and numbers indicate. They don't feel like a 5-2 team when you watch them.
No.
And
I actually had to
I don't
just
know what it
check.
is.
I was like, "Wait, are they
Yeah,
4 and 3 or 5 and 2?" Like,
no, and then they're in what is it, a division where their contenders are the Colts, who are a game behind them, and then Jaguars and Titans aren't a threat. And they're a much better team than the Colts. But if the Colts end up sneaking in there at the end of the season, I'd be I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think the Texans miss the playoffs by any stretch, but
well, the Colts beat the Dolphins who have given up life.
Yeah. But again, when it comes to the Texans, I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying something feels off. And I think they're going to lose a couple games in just really dumb ways this season. I'll say that. Next up, Casino. We just alluded to him. Your favorite game of the week, everybody's favorite game of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs dominate the 49ers 28-18. Now all of a sudden, I mean, the 2 year
I mean,
Brock
it
Purdy.
dominate. They were Brock Purdy throws that interception late in that game, but like he got hit as he was throwing it. I don't think it would have been an interception. I don't think it would have been caught by his player because he tried to thread the needle, but it took enough speed off for the interception. Um, I I just don't get Patrick Mahomes did not throw a touchdown, but he did throw 2 fucking interceptions. Pardon my language, my daughter. I love you very much. Don't repeat that word. Yes, Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions, but Brock Purdy has nobody. I mean, yes, okay, Patrick Mahomes, they are out there 2 leading receivers as well and their leading rusher. So like these are 2 banged up teams. Um, but I and it shows. It shows that, 5 interceptions, 0 touchdowns between the 2 of them, through the air, so not good, not good.
No.
This was a tough game to watch. Um, I feel so and you said it when we talked last night, Brock Purdy was just getting absolutely ripped by the media, which he has nobody. Like, I'm just
Well,
so what I mean, are we just so far on the outliers of liking Brock Purdy? Like, I just don't get it.
Well, no. I mean, this is clear that he can't play quarterback because he had one bad game in 2 years. So this is clear that he's a shit quarterback. Like, that's the thing I hate about the
When
Brock
when he
Purdy.
loses when he loses, Brandon Ayuk, when Brandon Ayuk has an AC MCL tear, and he's done for the season. Then you also have Debo Samuel in the hospitalized for pneumonia, and no Christian McCaffrey. Like his weapons are just gone. Their only saving grace is, I mean, they do have that running back that's done
Mason.
Jordan Mason that's done. He didn't have a great game. He only had 58 yards on 14 carries, but like he's not expected to be the guy, but he has to be the guy this year.
Yeah. Well, clearly it's like I don't know what is in the water in the NFC West, but it just feels like every team in that division is kind of dealing with the injury bug. We saw this past week where it was, DK Metcalf's potentially out. There was a couple other Seahawks guys. Obviously, the Rams, basically their entire team is injured. And now the 49ers, Ayuk is now out for the season with ACL or MCL or something like that. Basically, these two teams are very similar when it comes to offensively. Both of their starting running backs are injured. Both of their top 3 pass catchers are injured. The only thing they have basically on offense is their tight ends, right? In Kittle and Kelsey. And they had very similar stats because of that. So we can also put to bed that whole thing where it's like, oh, well, you don't need running backs, you don't need wide receivers. And then it's like, really? Have you watched teams that lose their running back or wide receivers? Because it looks a lot like this game.
Yeah.
Like,
I got to ask you this: do you think now, with all of the injuries to both the Chiefs and the Niners, I would say are done. The
yeah,
Niners are
at
done.
3-4, I think
At
they're
3-4,
done.
the Niners are done. Even though the Chiefs are undefeated here, like the Chiefs are undefeated, Patrick Mahomes is 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions with a rating of 82.5. First off, were you lying to me that he's a front runner for the MVP?
No, I believe he's still number one on MVP voting
How? Like,
because his team's undefeated.
I don't give it. That doesn't mean he's the most valuable player. MVP stands for most valuable player. He is not their most valuable player by any means. He's awful. This is a really, really bad year.
After last night's Monday night game, now Lamar
He has
Jackson is the front
one
runner.
game. He has one game against the Falcons where he has more touchdowns than interceptions. All the other games, it's either more interceptions or they're tied up.
Yeah, which is so funny because the thing that's always been said about Patrick Mahomes is he doesn't need anybody, right? He doesn't need anybody. It doesn't matter who he has. He'll just always be. And the elephant in the room is that Kansas City might have the best defense in the league. Their defense is lights out. You can't
So
run on them.
is this just going to be another Super Bowl 50?
I mean, it's kind of looking that way because but see, the saving grace really is in the AFC. If we look at divisions right now, so again, the contenders against the Chiefs, if we're just going to look at what playoff teams are, it's going to be the Bills, which we've seen that story how many times now? We've seen the story. I'm not
So
even going to get into
I love that you
Bills
bring that up because I
Chiefs.
was listening to Colin Coward and he was talking about it, and he was like, loved I've loved the Bills for so many years that I have been burned way too many times, enough to where I don't even want to go into the kitchen," is what he was saying. He's
Yeah.
like, "Buy the Bills," but he goes, "This year feels different. This
Oh
feels
God.
different." He goes, I'm willing to put myself out there and to love again." And I was just like, because
No.
I mean, with Patrick Mahomes playing the way he's playing, like you have juggernauts like in the AFC that could easily upset these Chiefs.
Ugh. All right. We'll have a Bills discussion another day.
You
The
want
other
to, dude? I love that.
contenders.
You want to know that?
What?
Oh my gosh, these are all the Chiefs games. They're going to go undefeated, dude. The Chiefs have the Raiders, then
Uh-huh.
the Bucks, which the
Uh-huh.
Bucks might have a shot.
No, they
Um,
lost Godwin and they lost Evans.
oh, that's right.
The Bucks are
They
done.
did lose Evans. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Raiders, Bucks, Broncos. Meh. No. Then they have the Bills, but then they got Panthers, Raiders again, Chargers, um, Browns, Texans. We don't know what they're going to be. Steelers, Broncos. So what? You've got two and a half tough games. One that's actually a legitimate tough game against the Bills. That's it. They're
Well,
going to go
what's that?
undefeated. It's going to be fucking.
So the other, as Casino just mentioned, the other contenders, we have the Texans who are 5-2 right now, who we haven't seen play the Chiefs. So that might be the outlier because all these other teams have played him and lost to him, except for the Steelers, right? So the picks right now to dethrone the Chiefs have to be Steelers or Texans because I still like Baltimore's chances, but again, when you get into the playoffs with Lamar, it changes.
Yeah, but
So
he has never had Derrick Henry. He's leading the league in rushing.
that's true. And they almost beat him or took him to OT in the first time. So the revenge, I don't think they're scared of him. So I feel like the only
And that
three
was when the
teams,
Ravens were playing bad.
yeah, I feel like the only three teams you can legit say have a chance to upset the Chiefs right now are Ravens, Steelers, Texans, at least in the AFC. Then the NFC, I don't know how well they'd fare against really the Packers, the Vikings, or
You
the
said,
Lions.
but Bills too.
I don't put the Bills in there.
Wow.
I've been burned by them too many times. I've seen
Exactly.
it.
But
I've seen it.
this year feels different.
Ugh.
The Diggs, Colin talked about it perfectly. He hit it perfectly. Diggs is gone. The distraction's gone. Things seem to be clicking in Buffalo. Like things getting Diggs out of there may have been the best thing for Buffalo because now you're not having somebody crying about not getting the ball or trying to have to pressure and getting that ball to him. You know, uh, Josh Allen has the opportunity to just kind of like pass the ball around, kind of does do, you know, nobody's arguing. And then he could do what he does on the feet with his
Yeah,
feet. So
but they're much like the Texans, the only two playoff caliber teams they've played, they've lost to. So they lost to the Texans, ironically, and then they lost to the Ravens in back-to-back weeks. And the Ravens game wasn't even close. They got annihilated. The Texans game was close, which again, I think the Texans are in the same boat as the Bills. So I don't think you
fair
can
hot
make
take.
I don't think you can make a case right now that the Bills are any different than they have been in the years past because we've seen this story a million times. They start off so good in September, they start failing in the middle of the season, they get your hopes up in the at the end of the season, and then they go into the playoffs and they lose by 3 points to the Chiefs after being up for most of the game. Like that's the narrative that the Bills have had
Well,
for
I told you what it was going to be at the beginning of the season. I said it was going to be a Chiefs Ravens conference
AFC
final.
Championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it will be. And you know what? Perfect Segu Casino because the Ravens basically blew out the Bucks. The Bucks got a lot of garbage time touchdowns in the fourth, but this game was pretty much over. For this final score ends up being 41-31. The Ravens now 5-2 after starting 0-2, which is incredible. The Buccaneers 4-3. But really coming out of this game is two things. Obviously, Lamar Jackson rising to now MVP frontrunner in the league with a 5 touchdown performance, zero
Yeah,
turnovers.
really good.
And then the story on the Buck side is Baker is a great game, but he loses Chris Godwin in the game and potentially Mike Evans. So are the much like how we talked about the 49ers just losing everybody, are the Bucks done?
Yeah, if you lose both of your targets, like you're done. You're done.
And the thing with this Bucks team was their defense was suspect, and really all they had was their offense.
Right.
And
So now
their
it's just like I wonder who's going to win that division because the Falcons are still not what we want them to be. I mean, they just got absolutely annihilated by the Seahawks. So I don't know. I mean, the Seahawks did have a good game, but I just don't know.
yeah, so Chris Godwin out for the season. Mike
So many
Evans,
injuries this season.
dude,
It's
it's
been
rough.
very, very sad.
Yeah. And Mike Evans is expected to miss minimum a month.
I mean,
So
yeah, it's all
uh,
the injuries have been real sad except for one. And it's been very, very upsetting. Can we say
We'll
goo?
get to that one. That was a great
um,
segue, though.
thank you. um,
But yeah, when it comes to this
here,
game, Casino, the Ravens now on a 5-game winning streak, have they reasserted themselves as the basically the AFC front runner behind KC? I
all
must say
day.
AFC.
I think they are the best team in the AFC. I still
Ooh,
want it to be I still think that with how it's shaped up as of late, I really think it's going to be a Lions Ravens Super Bowl.
God. But remember when we were
It's
stupid
going to
and
be a
had
Lions Ravens
those
Super Bowl. Shut up.
remember when we had those pie in the
It's
sky
going to
dreams
be a
last year?
Lions Ravens Super Bowl. Just stop, man. Just stop. Just stop.
But however, the
Um,
Ravens right now, number one offense in the league, third in the league in passing, number one in the league in rushing, except their defense, 25th in the
it's going
league.
to get better.
It's uh Lions
All right.
stats way better than
So we're
that.
gonna have to move this forward a little bit. I gotta start moving. So I'm gonna take over the reins here. Let's go up to your Eagles Giants. I don't is that a mid?
That's not in
Okay,
mid.
what are the mids?
The mids, let's go to Seahawks who
All right, we
destroyed
gotta
the
go fast
Falcons.
through these. I'm running out of
So
time.
Casino's on a time crunch. Seahawks, Falcons. Does this question you how legit the Falcons are?
I mean, yeah, it does. Bijan Robinson had an over 100-yard rushing, fine. Kirk Cousins still got a touchdown, but he had 2 interceptions. He's throwing 35 times, but for being paid that much, he should be throwing. I don't care how old you are. Get a
Yeah.
bionic arm. Um, but Gino was good, and uh, yeah,
Huh.
Gina, not Gina,
Interesting,
Gina.
Casino, because I heard from you that some people were
They're not a top
uh
team.
poo-pooing the my pick as the
Oh,
Seahawks in the top 10
okay.
team, and now all of a sudden
Poo-pooing.
they're gonna win the NFC West. Now all of a sudden the Seahawks are gonna win the NFC West and they blow out
Are you
who
Rob?
potentially
Stop. I can't stand Rob Parker, so please don't poo poo things.
that is where I got it from. Shout out to
Yeah,
Rob.
I know where you poo
Um,
poo, poo poo. I'm Rob Parker. I hate Tom Brady. Poo poo.
but yeah, so when we do
I
our
mean, I hear he's a
rankings on
really, really
Thursday,
just to say this. I hear he's a really, really nice guy, and he treats everybody with the utmost respect, which
I've always liked
great.
Rob Parker.
I
Yeah.
would love to meet him, and actually, he sounds like a really genuinely nice guy. But his hate for Tom Brady and him saying poo poo like annoys the hell out of me.
Um, but yeah, when it comes to our rankings on Thursday,
No,
maybe Seahawks make an appearance on my list, is all I'm
yeah,
saying.
they'll probably make an appearance, but they're not going to break our top 7 collectively. No, I
No,
will throw out my computer.
but Geno Smith, I still believe the number one passer in the league in
Okay, I
terms
won't
of
throw my
yards.
computer away, honey. I promise.
But yeah, he's thrown for almost 2,000 yards, only 8 touchdowns, though, 6 interceptions. So that is concerning. But the Falcons, when it comes to them, obviously, what we've said has been their issue all season has been the defense. And we thought it would be very similar to last year's defense. It hasn't been, and they've been allowing a shit ton of points. But with what happened to the Bucks, I mean, this is their chance to reel off a couple wins and win that division. I mean, now it looks like 9-8, 10-7 win that division. So, or 10-8, 9 and whatever the extra game is now. All right, Casino. Now let's move on to a game we don't really have to talk much about because we were wrong.
No, we
Russell
weren't.
Wilson looks good.
No, we weren't. No, we
Russell
weren't.
Wilson looks good.
He looked good late. He looked good late, and when I say good, decent.
Well, he also outplayed Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 24 for
Well,
39,
we all know Aaron
276.
Rodgers is a sham, so no.
1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Russell Wilson comes in 16 completions out of 29 attempts,
No.
264, two
Boo.
touchdowns.
Boo.
Are you poo-pooing Russell Wilson?
I'm not
um,
poo-pooing, I'm booing.
oh, boo-booing.
I've been poo-pooing all morning via those loaded nachos. So, hmm.
But George Pickens has a great game. He is now the I'm gonna throw the Hail Mary ball to you and you're gonna catch it in the most insane way ever. Like he's now just that wide receiver. But Steelers, again, if they keep playing like this, they look great. Jets, funny.
The
I thought
Steelers are
Devontae
5-2.
Adams. Yeah, Steelers are 5-2. Casino consistently doubts them. And let's see who picked who in this game. Oh, that's right. I picked the Steelers. Casino picked the Jets. Hmm.
I don't know
Interesting,
what I was
Casino.
thinking. Leave me alone. I had a
I
rough
don't know
day.
what you were thinking either.
I had an odd day.
But Steelers blow them out. Do you have more confidence in the
No,
Steelers now with Wilson?
mm, the same amount.
He's a,
The
what,
same amount.
Steelers guy, you were
The
right.
same amount. Justin
Casino's a
Fields did
hater.
good. Justin Fields did just fine. I don't
Uh,
like Russell Wilson. I just don't. What, honey?
last night,
So the chips that I got at Costco? Okay, give me a second.
maybe the most shocking game of the weekend to me happened last night, Casino, and that was the Cardinals winning 17-15. Not only did they win 17-15, but the way that game was played was the Cardinals basically out toughed the Chargers in what I called an insane coaching mismatch, where you had Harbaugh versus Murph from Practical Jokers in Gannon. So this is the one that I feel like I'm most disappointed in the
I didn't
outcome.
watch a single ounce of this game. Zero.
It
I'll
was,
tell you, like zero. I'll be honest. I didn't really watch much of any football
oh
yesterday. I
Lord.
watched very minimal of the Ravens Bucks. And very minimal actually. Um, yeah. Sorry, I was watching Lord of the Rings. You're
Ugh.
gonna hate me. Return of the King. Come on now. Won 7 Oscars. Let's go.
But yeah, Justin Herbert finally had a good game this season, 27-39, 349 yards. But what does that say where they get away from their run or their game plan of running the ball and they throw it almost 40 times and all of a
Yeah, you
sudden
know what?
this
I
team
might be
loses?
joining you. Justin Herbert might be a scam.
Oh, now our
Might
last
be.
mid game, Casino was happened all the way back on Thursday. We don't really need to talk about it.
You won. I was
Broncos
wrong. I don't know what I was thinking.
Broncos
Just
blow out the Saints. The Saints again. Spencer Rattler had two or three of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in football. But besides that, he didn't look that bad, especially for a rookie quarterback. But speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix, again, he doesn't really do anything crazy with his arm. He had that pass that went viral where he somehow missed a guy like 5 yards away from the ball, both in front of and behind. So he had two open guys and like perfectly put the ball in the middle of those two to where neither of them could catch it, which was almost as impressive as it was sad. But what I do like about Bo Nix is he just gets it done with his legs. 10 carries, 75 yards. He's very mobile, much more athletic than I thought he would be as a running quarterback in the NFL. So shout out to Bo Nix. But again, he doesn't really have to do much with how great the Broncos defense is. Their defense might potentially rival Kansas City as the best defense in the league. I feel like it's maybe Chiefs, Broncos, Bears as the best defenses in the league. Maybe there's a team or two I'm missing right there, but yeah, not shocking, at least for me, that the Broncos blew out the Saints. It was Sean Payton's return game. Broncos are a much better team. Again, I'll admit when I was wrong. Broncos are good. I don't know how good they are. I don't know if they're playoff good. In the AFC, they might be because it looks like, let's see, there's going to be one team out of the AFC East. There's going to be potentially three teams out of the AFC North, potentially two teams out of the AFC South. And then when you get to the AFC West, it basically becomes them or the Chargers. So yeah, they're a sneaky potential playoff team that I think loses in the first round. But when you have a good defense, anything is possible. Now, Casino, our mid matchups, and then Casino's corner, and we'll get out of here. Or I'm sorry, not our mid matchups, our miserable matchups. And nothing's more miserable than the Patriots in London.
leave me alone.
Talk about your team, Casino.
First off, my friends hit their bet. I'll say that. That
Oh,
was
there you go.
yeah. I mean, and you want take a guess of what the bet was.
That the
Drake May would throw for over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns or more, and
oh
he did.
wow,
I
that's
mean,
a
hey, he had
risky
20.
bet.
Not really. We said that he was gonna do that. I just don't I just the Patriots defense as huh? No. As Gerard Mayo, their coach, said, and this was very controversial, calling him soft. Bill Belichick had a absolute heyday about that comment
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
on the
Yeah,
our favorite dude. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
McAfee,
Yeah, Pat McAfee show. Um,
which
and
we
you know
get
what?
a lot of shit for that.
I didn't
We
like.
got
I like Gerard Mayo, but I did not like that. I actually love Gerard Mayo, but I did not like that saying.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, there's been this weird thing with Gerard Mayo where when he's on the sidelines, he doesn't look like he is ever interacting with any players or coaches, and he
yeah,
kinda just stands alone, and then afterwards, in the post game, he kinda throws everybody else under the bus and never takes a
yeah.
single
I'm starting to like. Oh, that needs to
so
change, buddy. That needs to change, buddy. But Drake May, he had a decent game.
yeah,
He did. I
and
mean,
then
the fact that he was our leading rusher, though, with 3 carries at 18 yards, oy vey. Like,
yeah. Well, also, what do you think of his comments about Polk basically being like, he's not tough enough, and then Polk on his Instagram kind of just being like that 50 Cent meme where he's like, "Why fuck me? Why are
right.
you throwing me under? Like, what the fuck did I do? Like, I'm a rookie in the NFL. Like, it's
Playing on the
weird.
worst team in the NFL. And
Yeah,
I'm still
playing
putting up numbers.
overseas. Like,
And
it's
he's putting up and he just put up numbers. So, you know what? Drake May, I think he's gonna be the real deal. I really do. After the
yeah."
last 2 games, seeing him play with the 2 losses, no, honey.
Yeah, no,
See,
I
I told
think
you it's going off the rails. My son's waking up. It's late. My daughter's been great for an hour and a half. Now we're screwed.
yeah. But no, I'll say I've been really impressed with both Drake May and Bo Nix. Both of them look pretty much better than I thought they would be. And especially with Drake May, like the coaching is all over the place. He has nobody on offense. I think you have the worst offensive weapons in the entire league.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
he's still putting up good numbers. Dare I say great numbers. I don't know how long Mayo lasts as the head coach because it seems like all of a sudden he's an
He'll
asshole
probably
and
get
the
one more year.
players agree. Like,
He'll probably get one more year.
I would make a bet right now that he doesn't make it through halfway of the next season.
If they're as bad, yeah.
Yes.
Fair. Okay.
Next up, Casino, we got 5 more game, but we'll
Yeah.
just go through these really quick.
Yeah, because I have 0 time.
Nothing really to say here. Bills destroy the Titans. We saw that was coming. Colts Dolphins, I didn't watch a single second of, except all I know is that no Colts player or really no Dolphins player is worth starting with the Colts when Anthony Richardson is in and with the Dolphins when Tua is out. So when Tua is out, the Dolphins offense has no players worthwhile for fantasy. And then on the Colts team, when Flacco is not the quarterback, no wide receivers or really running backs or tight ends have any fantasy value whatsoever. So basically, didn't watch a second of this game. Now we were going to uh well, I'll save that for when Casino gets back. My Eagles eviscerate the Giants. Again, I didn't understand the notion going into this game that most people had the Giants beating the Eagles. I don't know if you've ever watched an Eagles Giants game. The Eagles have owned the Giants basically my entire life. Again, that's why it's so confusing why the
You were
Giants
right.
are losing
Saquon
to us.
Barkley killed it. He was his return game. The Giants suck.
Yeah, again, I didn't understand, but
I
you
jumped
weren't
back
the
in for for the listeners.
yeah,
It's
you
just
weren't the only one though. I was flabbergasted by how many people were like, the Giants are gonna beat
well,
the
again, I
Eagles.
don't think we were far off the mark for the reasons why though. The Eagles have been struggling and they were one good play away from lose. If they didn't have that play to Brown, they could have easily lost that game,
Yeah.
last week. And then the Giants have been sneaky competitive. So I don't think we were anywhere on the realm of being wrong.
Except you were wrong because the Eagles annihilated the Giants. And we were talking about sacks and how good the front seven of the Giants were. They did end up getting 5 sacks. Only thing is, the Eagles got 8 sacks. So, Eagles defense,
A lot of
again,
sacks.
with
It's
the
13 sacks.
Yeah, with the
He
Eagles,
won't say they're balling out.
the past 2 weeks, that is a good one. But with the Eagles the last 2 weeks, I will say the thing that's very comforting is how good offensively they look now that they have both Brown and Smith back, and how competent defensively they looked based completely the polar opposite of how they looked in every game last season. And then they haven't had any turnovers the past 2 games, and both of them, again, if you watch that Browns game, there was not 1 second of that game I thought the Browns were gonna win it. They shut down the Browns completely. So I know the box score is different, but this game was a blowout basically from the beginning. So I'm optimistic now about the Eagles. We don't have to talk about the last two casino Raiders Rams. I didn't watch a second of, and
But
Commanders.
just know the Raiders had 4 turnovers. Gardner Minshew threw 3 picks. Like
Yeah.
that was the story of the game.
Well, also,
The Rams don't have anything on offense. They shouldn't have their total yards. I mean, we're 259 just but they shouldn't have won that game. It was their turnovers that were created. So good on their defense. My wife just
Aiden
told me.
O'Connell started that game, almost immediately knocked out of it. Gardner Minshew comes back in after being benched and then throws
3
three
interceptions.
interceptions.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he got benched. And then Commanders crushed the Panthers. Jaden
It was
Daniels, what we've
after
been worried about.
the first score of the game was a pick 6 and that was done. It was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. And then what we've been worried about, Jaden Daniels got in this game, immediately knocked out of the game on a running play. It's a rib injury. I hope, even as a rival in my own division, I don't want to see Jaden Daniels hurt. I don't want to see any player hurt except the one who did get hurt this weekend that we'll probably talk about on Thursday. I think we've run out of time. I think we can deep dive into that more.
Yeah. Do you think he's
But
done?
who? Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
No. They said it's a rib injury. I think he will miss significant time, though, which will be sad to watch. But then I'll tell you what, props to Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota came in. Good for him.
With the Eagles last year as the backup, he looked absolutely washed. So then all of a sudden he goes to the Commanders. He comes in this game in relief of Daniels, 18 for 23, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no
Good on him.
turnovers. Yeah, that's what you want to see. But
And he
that
rushed for
is
34 yards.
yeah. Maybe Commanders quarterback should stop running because you think RG3, now Jaden Daniels, just stop running.